All right, all set.
All right. I'm still getting myself together. Oh, hey Audrey, hey girl. All right, so I feel like my head is like cut off, but it's okay. We gonna do this. Whew. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Collective. I am your host, Sierra, with my co-host.
Son?
And today we're just going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Our topic will be without God.
Life without God.
Life without God.
Yeah.
And but first we're going to get into a little bit of what's been going on lately. What's been going on with you, Zon?
Finishing up with program with Word of Faith. So like leadership training program. So pretty much about done with that. Just got the last couple of assignments to finish. And just getting things going back with my business. Gotta have faith. That's about it. How about you?
Well, first of all, let's not breeze through that because Zon is going to be a minister. Okay, so we just gotta send big ups to Zon.
Thank you
for that. Being used by God in such a amazing way. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Seems so surreal.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's cool. With me, really, same in the business area, just trying to get things, moving more. And yeah, excited about everything that's happening and what's to come. So that's where I am.
Yeah, I see you've been real active on your pages.
I've been active and
got new design with new bags.
Yeah. I like to do things, like when I do stuff, it has to look a certain way. And I take a lot of, I like my stuff to be nice. So yeah, that's important to me. Yeah.
How's, I guess, how do you, well, from when you started, like, Reflect the Glory, like, how's everything changed, like, up until now?
It's just, I would say improved a lot, because for me, it's always God first. But at the same time, like Reflected Glory is about the people. So it's like, we get our image from God. So, it's almost like it's kind of like just a reflection in the sense of, okay, you have like God in it, but then you also have people in it. And just expressing God through fashion, God through art and creativity, and just mixing it all together and showcasing it. So
that's definitely you, all the time.
Well, I'm glad that it reflects in my work. So thank you. So I think it would be probably best for us to start in with the first topic, the first hot topic, being the trial of Derek Chauvin for the George Floyd case. I watched a little bit of it today, and to me, it's even kind of crazy how a person has to go to trial for something that was so obviously wrong. You know what I mean? Like you completely just murdered, like you literally murdered somebody on camera, and but we got to go through all the formalities of everything. And so that's the part that bothered me the most. And then the other part being that, you actually have a lawyer to represent you. That's the part that kind of really makes me say, well, how do you even find a lawyer? Because who would even defend somebody like this? But
Well, I mean, I see two sides there. I definitely agree with you when you're talking about having a lawyer, but sometimes the lawyer could be. It's not necessarily like them trying to avoid the punishment, but them just trying to get like just punishment. Then, like especially if you I mean, of course, it's different for just being honest, like for white people, but a lot of the times people who are like African American or just people of color, like in general, they don't get the fair end of the spectrum of justice,
Right.
even if they have committed a crime.
Right.
So that's that. But also, um, it's just strange just because I already know what they're going to try to do is defend him by saying he was just doing his job and he was doing as his training goes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, unfortunately, that's a lot of the times what happens. They say, well, I was trained this way, so I was just, doing what I was instructed to do. But in the case, it's like, well, there's two things wrong with that. One, if that's the truth, then why hasn't the training changed in like over 40, 50 years? Because it's still the same exact thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's like, well, how do you not have compassion for a person who's literally dying, like as you have them, like under your own body?
Yeah,
And it just doesn't make sense.
I kind of feel at this point I don't want to hear about training.
Yeah,
Like, that's in you, like period. Like you just have hatred in you. And
exactly.
that was very notable in the video. But I want to like, I have so much respect for the young lady that was like in the witness stand, like pretty much, telling her testimony of what happened. I think she was the main one who was recording. I think she said that she was the first person there to record.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, first of all, it's very traumatic, you know what I mean? Just to be a witness to that in real time, in real life. But, for her to get up on the stand and, testify, knowing the repercussions or, the possible repercussions of that, to me, like, is very brave. And, I'm just grateful for her just being so transparent and not allowing fear to stop her from, coming forward. Because I'm pretty sure that she probably had threats. She probably, was harassed, but she still decided to move forward with it anyways.
Yeah. Like even for me, like honestly, I haven't kind of watched any because it's like stuff like that is honestly it's hard for me just because I do care about people. I do care about like justice and everything like that, and it gets tougher and tougher and tougher when time and time after again it's like people just get treated unfairly, and you have a certain group of people who seem to always prevail. It
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't make sense. It's like, where is the humanity, like, in it all? Like, even for what you said with the young lady who was taking the stand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even with her, she's literally just a witness. Like, why does she have to be treated like a criminal because she's just a witness?
Mm-hmm.
But if that were someone else, the same thing would be happening to them. Like, I remember even during, what was it, when they, had like riots afterwards. When there was a guy, I think he was like from Illinois. He traveled to Minnesota, carrying like an assault rifle,
Mm-hmm.
and they killing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they were treating him better than the person who was deceased.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's the same old thing
Yeah,
over and over and over again. But I just felt like to all the people who are giving their testimony of what they saw, I mean, there was a little girl there. I think she's like 10 years old. I can't remember, but it was a lot of people standing on that sidewalk. You know what I mean? And all of them had to stand there and witness that. And for me, like that's traumatic. Like, and, the young lady that we were talking about before, like she was just saying how, it bothers her when she's asleep at night, like she wakes up, upset and crying and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more to help him, and you know it's just really
I mean, even like in a situation, I hate to say it, it's either you help and be killed or you try to help a different way. Just because if people were to intervene, it's just creating more violence,
yeah.
and it's not even like the violence even started with George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
It started with the police officer. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you um how do you police the police? Like that's always like the difficult question we always get asked because it's not us who's getting violent, it's them.
Right.
They have that. It's like the hatred is just kind of boiling over so bad that, well, now I'm going to do anything I want to in my power just because I know I'll be protected.
Mm-hmm. It's true, true. So, on to lighter news. Actually, I don't know what we should get to next.
I was
What do
going
you want to
to.
talk about next?
You can talk about the. Well, we can talk about the other Derek. I guess it's not a good time to be named Derek.
Derek Jackson. Woo! Lord. Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep it light and say, what am I gonna say about him? You know, what's done in the dark comes to the light. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Um,
I say you just wrong. And
it's a mess. It's a hot
yes,
mess. Like the amount of women, the things that were said, that he participated in, and um,
it just makes
just the
it.
hypocrisy of it all. You know
Yes,
what I
it
mean?
makes it
Like,
seem so bad just because. I mean, I didn't really follow him like that, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I seen him like every now and then. He was like when the stuff he was saying back then, he was making some valid points,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's like when you're doing the exact opposite of what you're advising other people to do. One, you're a hypocrite,
Mm-hmm.
and two, it makes everything you said just invalid.
So as a black man,
Mhm.
when you see like that happen, like what do you feel? Like, do you get upset because it's like, oh, now all of us got to pay for what he did, or how do you
Yeah,
feel?
I mean, it's like you kind of feed into a stereotype. You don't want to do that, and it's just bad all around. It's like one okay. I say honestly, it's hard to be black, especially in America, whether you're a man or a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like one, you could be fighting racism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then it's like now it's at the point where it's like you're almost kind of fighting each other then, just because um, with Derek Jackson, he is married to a black woman. But then it's like now you have a lot of black women saying, well, specifically like Derek Jackson, he's a hypocrite, he's a narcissist, he's all these other names. But then that kind of flows over to now is everybody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you just don't want to be grouped together. And it's like honestly, we should really try to do better, like just as a whole.
So do you feel like, because this, I hear this question a lot, but I want to know from your standpoint, and I don't mean to get all up in your business,
Hmm.
but do you feel like all black men cheat?
No, I don't. I don't say that. I don't want to generalize anything. Do people cheat? Yes. Do all? No. Like one thing is, it's crazy. I wasn't the best student growing up in English,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's like I see how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you can't just make general assumptions like that for everybody, just because it could be some people out here who really are going to do right in a relationship, who really are going to treat people the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at honestly, like if you look at Bishop Bronner, like with him and Dr. Nina Bronner, like to me, it's like I don't see any kind of flaws in the relationship. I could be wrong.
I'm like, why did he bring him up? Like,
No, I'm saying I could be wrong, but it's like they look like they just have it like all together. You don't hear anything about
Mhm.
their relationship or anything like that. But
I mean, you
yeah,
just never know,
of
because
course you
them be
never
the
know.
ones that, like, not saying, and I don't wish this
Mm.
on nobody's relationship, especially when they have such a huge responsibility like that in ministry, anyways. But like, you know, I kind of feel like we can't just look at people from the outside.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I think the important thing is to realize that nobody is free, like from falling into temptation and to
That's
sin.
true.
To me, that's the most important thing. Um, should you stay away from it? Yes. Honestly, you shouldn't. To me, you should not be. like in any kind of like leadership role, whether that's like on social media, in the church, or in the business or whatever, if you can't handle your own business, it's because you need to kind of step away.
Do you feel like that he would have been better off if he had just said, you know what, y'all, like, I messed up, like, or do you feel like he has any remorse?
I don't think so at all. I think he's just trying to protect the brand he's built,
Yeah.
and that's what really what he's doing. But my whole thing is like, I guess we're just still living in the age of social media. Like, why do you go to random people who you do not know to tell your business? It's like, honestly, that should have never like got out like at all. That should really just between you and your wife.
What do you mean?
I feel like,
He didn't tell his business. Somebody, other people told his
oh
business.
yeah, I forgot. Well, that's the part you play then.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
However, I will say
Hmm.
that when him and his wife got on social media to explain or say whatever they
Yeah,
was
that's what
going
I'm
to say,
saying. Okay, so that part that's too much.
yeah.
Keep that between y'all. Why do the people need an explanation?
Well, I mean, when you explain everything else on social media, you talking about now,
Yeah, I mean,
ladies, if your man da 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 then da 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 da, then it's like, okay, well, now you got some explaining to do because this is what your brand is based on. Your whole brand is based on, relationships and advice.
it's
So
so funny
now,
though.
when you in the frying pan, okay, you got to say something. You know what I
Because
mean?
it's like he was in his car like a good majority of the time. I'm wondering, like, are you outside the girl's house? Like, what's
A
going
lot of
on?
bad things happened in that car. So we just gonna leave it at that because yeah. But you know what? One thing I will say is I hope that I just pray for his deliverance and maybe a changed man at some point in his life. I
I
hope
hope the same for the
I
wife too.
hope that he don't stay the same for the rest of his life. But I'm just praying that there's a breaking point to where it's like, okay, well, I have to come into terms to as to why I'm like this, and I need to make the necessary adjustments and changes.
I
He's
mean,
got a lot of stuff to work
you
through.
get that status and you don't want to lose it, no matter what you've done.
Well, he gonna lose it anyways at this point. He done lost a lot.
But you know what? You know what's the crazy thing is? So this is really just like in marketing, like, whether it's good publicity or bad publicity, you're still being talked about. So if you think about like all the different things that are happening, like even like right now, we're still talking about them.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful because I
This
mean,
is
it's a
true.
lot of bad press out there. And just because I've heard that term too, like, oh, all press is good press.
Hmm.
However, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, I won't buy Gucci or I won't buy certain labels because I already know they, have done racist things in the past. Even though I see a lot of my people still buying Gucci. But, that's just one of the many brands. But, like, I would say, like, not all press is good press.
Well, I mean, I say that in the sense of like people, I guess, especially like with him, they know how to make money, like regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So even with him, it's like when all these like allegations came out, they posted that video, I believe, on YouTube. They
Mm-hmm.
put it on a platform where they can get paid for doing like, reaction video or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen the numbers because I won't, I'm not gonna, I can't give him like, any kind of views. Like I don't want to contribute
Right,
towards like,
exactly. To his success in any
yes,
type of way.
but that's what's happened.
Yeah.
But then it's like, honestly, it's like I feel so bad like for his wife just because I hate to say it, she just seems like she seems like a little clueless. Like she just seems like she's almost like using God like as a barrier to really to how she really
Yeah, let's
feels.
talk about that because like we're Christians, but I feel like there is a level of I don't even know what to call it, but you have to have common sense. Like you have to have there has to be a balance, you know what I mean, when it comes to your faith and what's going on in your life. And I kind of feel like the way, and I don't know if it's just a facade if she's doing this as like a covering, because we don't know like what kind of abuse, or like if he, I don't even know if that's happening, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And we don't know if she says something, how it's going to affect their relationship. So, but what she is saying and how she has like talked about things, it's like, you know like it's God, 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 but it's like, yo, like you're not really making sense right now.
It's almost like she's trying to stay strong, even though she may be honestly like hurting inside. Because one of the things I kind of read was that she was, I guess, like before everything really kind of, came to light and everything, she was actually like pretty much trying to transform herself into some of the people who he was attracted to. I'm like, especially as a wife, that's awful.
Yeah.
Like, even for me, if I was doing that to her, like, how do you not feel bad? How do you not like?
Who, Derek?
Yeah, how do you not feel like any kind of remorse that she's doing that? She's not even her own person. She's trying to be somebody else, and you're married to that person. Like, that's awful.
Well, that's Derek. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
And then he was making reaction videos making fun of her. That's enough. I can't. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just bad.
yeah. So we gonna move on from that. Then we're gonna move on to Lil Nas X.
Oh
Okay,
man,
little country, Old Town Road dude, whatever. I'm not really that familiar with, you know,
the song is catchy. I
him.
won't listen to it no more though.
But yeah. How old is Lil Nas X?
I'll be like 22, 23.
He looked like a little boy. Um, but Audrey, who happens to be on our live, she showed me the video, his latest video.
His music video.
I don't even know what the
Did,
name
did
of
you
it
watch the whole
is.
thing?
She made me watch it. Audrey made me watch the video.
I couldn't
Yeah.
do it. I couldn't do it. I saw the pictures and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's very,
I had to go pray.
very. You had to go pray?
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it was
That's
bad. I ain't
bad.
gonna
I
lie.
don't.
It was really bad.
My Christian eyes don't need to see this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was very off the chain, I'll say that. But I wanted to talk because now he got this he made some shoes
He
that were
had that shoe.
supposed to be Nike branded. And it's so funny that like we talked about altars last time on our podcast. Well, I briefly touched on it, and we were talking about blood and how altars and all that. Anyways, so apparently they put human blood inside these Nike shoes. Well, they're not Nike shoes. They were branded as Nike shoes,
So
but
yeah,
Nike has said that
yeah,
they had absolutely nothing to do with it. And they are actually suing Lil Nas X for
rightfully so.
yeah, for advertising a shoe that was not I guess approved by Nike. But he did go through, I guess it's a designer out there that actually designed the shoe and put it together.
That's the name of the company.
Say it again.
Mischief.
Mischief. Doesn't that sound bad? Yeah.
Yes.
So so they made the shoe for him, and he was advertising the shoe with blood in it. And what are your I mean, what's your take on that? What you think?
Where his parents at? Where's anybody close to him
Yeah.
like that
Some of
knows
these people
God at
act like they
all?
don't have no family, huh?
At all.
Like no upbringing that's good.
But especially like in the faith community, you hear the word like agenda being brought up like so many different
Yeah.
times, and it's like in his case, like I hear a lot of people trying to bring up, well, bringing up like his homosexuality in it, like as an excuse for this is what he's doing, or trying to say, well, you're saying this is bad, so why is this all bad? And I was like, honestly, that's not an excuse like for anything, like. And people were saying that, why should, people who are Christians feel disrespected or anything like that? And it's like, if you look at the imagery, if you look at even like the actual shoes, like the actual shoe has a Bible verse on it. Like,
And then it's got like 666 six
It
some.
has like, so whatever number the shoe is out of 666,
Mm,
and I I don't even know.
yeah.
All I can say is, um, hope he changes his ways. You better repent fast, because
Because the kingdom
that's
is at hand, homie, and you don't want to be left behind. I'm just
yeah.
saying, like, but yeah, that's off the chain, yo. Like, you put in like like they actually came out and was like, yeah, this is human blood we putting in these shoes, so come get your pair, you
And
know.
then honestly, like when you look, even like, okay, so people have to understand that there's a lot of things that are very, very symbolic to God. Like even
Mm-hmm.
just as far as blood, it's like when we're talking about like the blood of Jesus,
Yeah.
you're covered by the blood. We're not putting actual blood on ourselves,
Right.
but you can just understand like how precious blood is to God. You had said something about Cain and Abel. It was
Yeah,
really talking about
because
blood.
when Cain killed his brother,
Hmm.
God was like, I can hear Abel's blood screaming from the ground or
Hmm.
crying out to me from the ground. So blood has life in it, you know what I mean? And so for him to put these human blood, and then it makes me wonder, was there a human sacrifice up in this thing? You know what I mean? Ain't no telling what they did with them shoes, but for you to put human blood into a shoe, it's like, okay, now y'all on some other
And
stuff.
everything, honestly, is not a joke.
No, it's not.
Especially when you're really talking about God, it's not a joke.
Mm-mm.
Not at all. Like, and it just really, because, well, I guess I heard one of the things that he was saying is, well, they were saying that anyone who is like homosexual is going to hell or something like that. And I guess that was the whole purpose for the video. And I guess it just even kind of carried over like to the shoes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really just looking at the whole aspect of it all. Honestly, it's not homosexuality. It's of course it's just sin in general. But overall, it's still like it's just bad.
Honestly, I feel like some sins, and I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I kind of go back and forth about this, but I do feel like there's other sins that outweigh others, and that's just me. And maybe later on down the line, I'll change my mind later on because I'm still kind of like I don't really know like if that's the right way to be or like if that's the right way to feel, but I do feel like there's certain sins that are bigger and way more because now, granted, if you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, it don't matter what sin you committed. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. Like if you repent, like that's it. Like it's done. But like I do feel like there are sins that are heavier just because of the rampant. Like there's certain things that get blasted so much on our social media, on TV, like everywhere. It's almost like they want you to join in on what they're doing. And I kind of feel like that's the enemy trying to get you in bondage to that, particular sin. It's, to me, I just feel like if it didn't mean that much, then why would there be such an influence to try to get people into that? So,
I
but
mean,
that's just me.
I think, well, just for me, I don't think there's one sin that outweighs another,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think the consequences of some sins are going to like outweigh another. Like say, I mean, it's just almost like with like if you look at like our justice system, I'm going to go to jail for a longer period of time than I am for like if I stole like a Snickers bar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's that, but I feel like in God's eyes, like He doesn't care. If you murder someone, if you lie on someone,
It's still all
it's
wrong.
still yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
because
that's
even
why I kind of go back and forth because it's like on one hand I do feel like that. I feel like if you sin in one way, you pretty much tear everything up. But at the
mhm.
same time I do feel like, well, why is there such an emphasis on this specific thing? You know what I mean? Um, but it could also be that there's such an inclination or like because we're weaker than in some places more than we are in other places, then maybe that's where the enemy is like, well, for the most part, a human being is more inclined to do A, B, and C than they would doing this and this and this. So
Well, it's
they'll
just.
probably have sex more if I influence them in a sexual way than they would to murder somebody. You know what I mean? So it could be that too.
Well, I mean, even just like with the whole aspect of sin, it's like you have to. It's so many different things. Like this is like I feel like honestly, okay, just getting a little bit off topic, but I'm gonna bring it back to sin.
That's all right.
No, I feel like
We got time.
I feel like not everyone should be teaching the Bible just because they don't necessarily understand. They don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
read between the lines of certain different things.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you look at the whole aspect of sin in the Bible, the first sin was honestly not listening to God.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it wasn't committed by Eve; it was committed by Adam. Just because Eve didn't hear firsthand from God, she heard from Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Adam firsthand heard from God, so he did not listen to God. Second one was they thought that they knew better than God, so they tried to cover themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's number two. You look at the third between Cain and Abel. Cain did not offer a sacrifice that was going to be pleasing to God. He didn't give God his all. Number three. Then he murdered his own brother. Number four. Number five, lying to God. I'm not my brother's keeper. So you see, it's so
like
much.
even if you didn't outright go straight to murder in the first thing, the fact that you sinned in the first place led to all these other sins. You know what I mean? So it's like back to what we were saying before. It's like if you sin in one way, you pretty much messed everything up because
I think God wants your heart, and honestly, sin is the first place where your heart is the first place where sin is committed. You do it in your heart before anything goes into action.
That's a good point. Well said. Well said.
The Black Panther said perhaps it stems from.
Oh, Black Panther's on here.
Yes, he is.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Perhaps it stems from chattel slavery here in America, where certain things like buck-busting farms, the oppressors used to break us physically, spiritually, and mentally.
Yeah. Perhaps it stems from chattel slavery.
It's a lot. I mean, of course, slavery didn't make anything better, but it messes with your mind, and then it's like, of course, what's very, very prevalent today is generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
And curses don't get better, they get progressively worse.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's almost like, wow,
That's when you get into the whole territory thing where you have certain demonic influence over certain territories of the world. So, like, I don't know if I have brought that up before. It's like, you might have one, like, Atlanta is prevalent for sex trafficking and for what else? Homosexuality.
Yeah.
So both sex related, things. Or if you go to certain other countries or
I think just in general here in Atlanta. So it's a lot.
Well, like places like are known for certain things. You know what I mean? So like I don't even know why I brought that up, but like you said, it's like the generational thing. It just gets worse and worse and worse, and it proliferates. You know what I mean? So
another thing he said, I find it interesting that as soon as a positive momentum in the culture, i.e. Judas and the Black Panther, her and other positive themes, here comes this foolishness to distract us. That is very true.
Is he talking about the singer Her?
I think so. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't really listen to her like that.
I like the singer.
Okay.
I think she's dope.
When he said we're focused on justice and freedom and look at the devil's response.
Yeah. I agree.
Very, very true.
Yeah. So, Audrey was supposed to be watching Demi Lovato's documentary since she made me watch the Lil Nas X video, but I don't know if she did or not. But I wanted to touch on that too. Demi Lovato, if you guys haven't watched it, she came out with a documentary about her battling with drugs and I guess substance abuse and how she like almost died a few times. And I just thought it was very powerful. It's called Dancing with the Devil. and it is on YouTube. Um, and it's just kind of making it just really kind of made me feel sad for her because she said that the last overdose she had, she pretty much like lost her hearing, so now she's deaf in one ear, and like her depth perception in her eyes. I guess she was hypoxic, meaning like without oxygen for a while. So she has bad depth perception now. So when she's like trying to go and pour like a glass of water, like she completely misses the cup and stuff. And she just had like, it's just kind of really messed up, kind of sad. And I just, I wish the best for her. Some people, you kind of like hear their story and it just really kind of makes you feel like, you could have like so much success in the world and, still be missing stuff or missing something, which leads us into our next discussion, which is life without God.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were going to have another topic, but I didn't want it to be too generalized. So I just said, let's go with life without God.
I was thinking about just even like the whole topic, life without God. Like honestly, I was thinking that of course God created everything. Well, He created all the essentials that we need to live on this earth. So it's not living without God, but it's living out of relationship with God. So, and like for the longest, I was trying to think, well, I was really trying to use like my imagination, like how would life without God be? But then I realized I was living it. Really, like I still grew up in the church, but I didn't have like a relationship with God how I do now.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about Him, but it's almost like, well, um, you know how you may have like some cousins or I guess who are like, well, technically your family, but you don't know anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like that. Like I
Like you know of them, but you don't
yeah,
really know them.
exactly. So yeah, I was thinking like about that, but it's it's not a fun experience just because like life with God and life without God, honestly, not much has changed just as far as circumstances because you still go through different things. You still have blessings. You still have, you know, um, rainy days. You still have like sunshine. But at the same time, life with God makes everything so much more easier and peaceful.
You have something to look forward to when you have a relationship
Yes.
with God. Do you feel like, because I remember when I wasn't saved, I mean, I've always believed in God, but I didn't really understand that God really does like care about every aspect of your life. I feel like a lot of people
That He
don't really
exists.
understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, before I got saved, I felt like only special people had a relationship with God. You know what I mean? Like, like, oh, that person must be special because they hear from God, or, like, they pray a lot, they have that connection with God. So, God has really reached out to them. But I didn't feel like that was necessarily everybody's, I didn't feel like God felt that way about everybody. You know what I mean? So, do you feel like some people are under that same, I want to say, blindfold, as like thinking that God doesn't really care about them the way that He really,
Yeah, I
opposite of what
mean,
He really feels?
like I feel like people who believe in God, and people who don't believe in God, still feel that same thing. It's like it's easy to like you have to think God has created billions of people, on this earth. And it's almost like, well, God, did you forget about me? Like I'm here too. Like I'm going through all these different things. Um, like you could, I guess, by like the world standards, be a good person. You could be a good person from God's standards too. But it's easy to kind of get lost up in different ideas that just made it really just may manifest in your mind. Is because you leave open doors to the enemy to kind of tell you different things.
Mm-hmm.
To say, well, either yes, you're fine, or you're really not fine. So now you don't necessarily talk about, different struggles you could be going through, or you could be listening to those voices. They're honestly coming like from your closest people. Like, you have, your own family, which it's weird just because we emphasize family so much, but family is normally the people who hurt us the most.
Yeah.
So it's like you're listening to them, and what they could be saying of how many times, I don't want to say the wrong words, but saying that, you're less than, you're off, you're never going to amount to anything. You're never ever going to amount to anything.
What do you think the biggest lie is that people accept from the enemy about their own lives?
Honestly, that they're not God's child, and you can never be God's child. I feel like that's just like an umbrella statement to kind of say anything.
Yeah. What do y'all think, for all the people that are on our live, like, what do y'all think the biggest lie is that people accept from the enemy?
What do you think?
Black Panther says, is there life without God? Let me be specific, without Jesus.
I guess honestly, to answer this question, yes and no. Is there life without God? Actually, no. I'm sorry, I take that back. There is no life without God. Well, actually, no. There is a
Is
yes
that
and
a,
no.
you trying to trick us, Black Panther? Like,
I would say yes, there is life without God, but that life is going to end. Life with God is just going to continue. You either have eternal life or the opposite.
I feel like yes, there is life without God. However, like you said, like it's your choice what kind of life you want to live. You want a life of, you want to live a life of eternal life with being with God, or you want to live a life being in damnation with the enemy. Like, what you want to do, because your life technically never ends. Like, our spirit is like everlasting, and so
But that's honestly that just speaks of the goodness of God, just because I feel like
he said yes, it's a trick question.
yeah. I feel like the greatest thing God has given us is honestly the opportunity to choose Him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like people just have this concept that just because you're this way, you're that way, you're automatically going to hell. Like, that's not the case. It's like if you choose God, and choosing Him does come like with different responsibilities.
Right.
If you truly choose God, then you get not only to spend time on earth with Him, but you get to spend time in that's like, I guess weird concept, time in eternity, like with Him too.
Yeah.
So it's like that. It's not. I guess the kind of push that forward too. It's why would God allow you to spend paradise with Him if you don't want to spend, if you don't want to suffer for Him like on earth? Just because sin is really taking over the world, and we're under sin like right now, is because this is just the enemy is
He's
has been
reigning right now.
yeah, he's been given power like over this world. So if you choose Him, then spend eternity with Him. If you choose God, spend eternity with God.
Right.
It's a simple choice.
Right. Audrey says, I think most people don't believe that they are loved, so they are constantly looking for love to be loved, and Satan uses this. That's yeah.
That's very good.
That is like number one. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody. Like, when you think about children, and how they interact with their parents, and they want to be coddled, and they want to be held, and they want to be loved, and like if you yell at them, like, get out of there, they'll start crying because you hurt their feelings, or you know what I mean, like. But as they grow older, it's like they look for love in different ways. It turns from, it's almost like their love goes from that type of love from a parent and a child to acceptance. And how people interact with them and how their friends interact with them, and oh, are they going to love me, are they going to like me, am I going to be accepted by them, and then even in relationships, like if you get rejected by somebody or they don't want to be with you no more, then it's like, so yeah, that's a really good one. That's a really good one.
And I think it's the funny thing. Satan can offer. He can only offer like temporary pleasures. Like I was thinking about. It's a song by Jay-Z called "Beach Is Better," and the song it has a cool beat with it, and but the song is like very very short. So I remember he was kind of explaining this like on his Twitter. Like one day, someone kind of asked him like, "Why is the song so short?" And he was like, "Well, when you go to the beach, are you there for a long time or a short time?" So it's like, normally people, if you're going on vacation, vacation's not going to last a whole year. It's just going to be for a very, very short time. I'm like, this is honestly, to me, like the whole aspect of sin is just temporary feelings. It's
the whole aspect of what?
Sin.
Oh, okay.
It's just going to be temporary. You'll feel good temporarily, but then it's like you still have the emptiness kind of like left over.
Yeah.
But then it's like when I get the love from God, it's like that's lasting.
Yeah.
And like it's so far, just as far as me actually choosing God, it's like I've never like had like that feeling of love from him has never stopped. Like even when I do right and when I do wrong, like that love has never really stopped. And I guess for me, like I don't understand. It's like, how do you not choose God? It's because this is what he really offers.
Well, I think a lot of people have been blinded by the enemy. Like the enemy, he don't want you to. First of all, why else would he put put something over your eyes to where you can't see? You know what I mean? Like he purposely does that. He blinds people. So it's like, if everybody knew like the truth about God and who God really and truly is, I mean, they would fall in love with him like instantly. Like there's no turning back. After you know the truth about God, after you find God for yourself, there's absolutely no turning back. Unless you just decide, you know what, I'm gonna live for this world. You know what I mean?
But then to me, that just makes me wonder, like, did you ever like really love God in the first place? Or did you really like ever get to know him?
Well, in the Bible it does talk about,
People
how
falling away.
yeah, people
Okay.
falling away. Like, some seeds got, buried in rocky soil or whatever, and then you got the seed that's like, shallow. I don't know. It says something about that. Y'all give me the verse. So you got all these different types of people and all these different types of seed, you know what I mean? But, not all of it, actually bears roots or grows roots and is
Bears
stable.
fruit.
Is stable enough to bear fruit, you know what I mean? So some people, they just like this world so much that they all about the money, the fast life, what they can get, And I think even last time I was talking about that movie, what's that one with Denzel Washington in it? It's like Esquire. It's when he was an attorney or whatever, and he decided that he was gonna stop doing the right thing and do the wrong thing, and then his whole life just like started going downhill from there. Like I think that's a good example of that. Um,
Because it's like doing the wrong thing it could seem good, but it's just so deceiving.
Yeah, it is deceiving.
And I was actually talking to one of my friends about this like last night, and it's so interesting that Psalm 73, like it's perfect because it talks about this is it's called it's a song from Asaph. He's one of the writers of the songs. I think he was uh, like one of the people who's instructed like by David to kind of be. I'm like a songwriter, I would say. But he was saying, I was envious of the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. And I was like, wow, that's today.
Yeah.
So this is written thousands of years ago, and this is still going on today. It's like we see people and we see people like false prospering, and we think that this is really what life is all about. But we kind of sometimes omit like what God says that life is all about.
Yeah.
We miss.
It's a cultural thing that is like a countercultural. It's like we have to be, why do I all of a sudden hear an echo?
Same here.
But it's like we have to be in constant battle mentally with the culture and what's going on in the world, you know, and in our own faith. Yeah, I think it's coming from your something because it wasn't like that before. But anyways, so Audrey says it is also the reason why God continues to tell us how much He loves us. For God so loved the world. Now abide Now abide faith, hope, and charity, but the greatest of these is. Okay, yeah. And I think that is true. Like, that's why there's so many promises in the Bible that says, you know, God loves you. You know, God is your rock. God is your protector. Under his wings, you'll find refuge. You know, like, it talks a lot about the faithfulness of God because it's like at so many points and times in our lives, like, that's where we have like the opposite, you know, we see the opposite, so then it gets really hard to see God in just a regular everyday life that we have to live. Black Panther says, what really blows my mind is the thought that God knew us before we were formed in our mother's belly. What does he know? What is it about little old me before I was formed that led me to believe versus someone who doesn't?
It's a deep question again. Um, I think that God just knows how to speak to you. I remember probably the first time I went to Word of Faith. I honestly I was haven't been in church in like 4 years probably. Um, when I moved from Tennessee to Atlanta now, and it was at a time I really just used to fall asleep in church all the times because I was just tired.
Hmm.
But hearing really, I guess God speak to me, through Bishop Bronner's, like, how does it seem like he's talking to a crowd of people, but it seemed like he's speaking directly to me?
Hmm.
And I learned that was like what we call like signs and miracles. That's a sign.
Hmm.
So it's like I couldn't help but to think like I've heard all these other different things about God before, but now I can without a doubt I know that He was talking directly to me.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I first got saved, I was like, I was just going through because I think that was like after my divorce, and I was in the bathroom mirror, like, I was just because somebody had told me something that God had said or whatever, and I was really not. I was like, really? That's my life? And then like I was just looking in the mirror, and I was like, it's too good to be true. Like that's not gonna happen for me. Like it's too good to be true. And I was somewhere, and somebody was like, it's not too good to be true, Tierra. Like, and I was like for real, like it kind of scared me because like I was like, yo, I didn't even say it to myself. I said it within. I
Mhm.
didn't even speak it out. I was in the mirror and I was just like, nah, that's too good to be true. Like, and it was just a thought, like, but God was like, nah, I'm gonna let her know it's not too good to be true. This is coming from me, and it's just amazing. Like, I can tell you right now, like, I don't know where I would be if it hadn't been for God stepping in to my life at various like bad times. Like, there's been some real bad times in my life, and I just feel like, God, is the only reason why I'm still like hopeful and have the ability to laugh and joke around. You know what I mean?
He says, And Black Panther says, do y'all think everyone has an encounter?
I feel like God gives us a chance. So I do feel like God kind of, there's like points in our lives where God will try to reach out to you. Um, but you only have so many times before your life ends. You know what I mean? So it's like if you don't accept him before that time, then that's it. You know what I mean?
I feel like everybody has that. I do. Oh, I said this. I do feel like everyone does have that, I guess, quote unquote encounter.
Mm-hmm.
It is either you choose to accept that encounter or reject it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, if you think about like uh, Jesus, like you literally have God walking among you, and y'all didn't want to see it.
Yeah, that's true.
But because I'm thinking about like just all throughout the Bible, think about like Jacob. You know, he wrestled with God. Moses had his encounter, you know, with the burning bush.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But it's interesting how in all those situations, like, you have this encounter with God and then everything goes back to normal. It's so funny because it's like, okay, back to your normally scheduled
yeah,
program. It's like God is like, okay, so I'm here, I'm showing you who I am. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, back to your regular life. And then it's like you gotta kind of like
but it,
that's where your faith is like comes in handy because it's like, yo, like, and do I really believe what God told me back there? Or,
but
you
then it's
know,
like at that point on, your life is no longer regular. Like
mm-hmm,
something changes within you, whether good or bad.
mm-hmm,
Something, if it, how I see good, I see good now, like in the eyes of God.
mm-hmm,
It's like something happens good where it's like now you want more of God, and that
mm-hmm,
changes you like internally and externally. Or it could happen where it's something bad, which I call like the Pharisees, where it's like I don't want none of God. Like
mm-hmm,
this is even if you feel like you know God, it could be to the point where you're like them, where it's like this isn't the God that I expected, so this is not the God that I'm going to accept.
mm-hmm. Well, the Pharisees, they weren't, I don't feel like the Pharisees were true believers. I feel like they had religious spirits on them, and I feel like they were more worldly than anything.
Yeah,
They were
they
so
wanted
jealous.
power.
They were so jealous of Jesus just because of his popularity.
Hmm.
And, like, especially when I mean, they were trying so hard for the people not to like him.
Hmm.
I mean, when he healed the guy that was blind or whatever, the dude was like, listen, I don't know who this man is. All I know is that I was blind and now I can see. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And but you bringing this dude in because Jesus healed him. It's like, you know,
I mean, this is
out
really the
out of
world that
jealousy.
this is the world that we still
Right.
live in today. Just because people really don't want what's good, they want what's going to serve them best.
A right
Like
now type
they
of
they were
mentality.
thinking that yes, this man, like how is this man able to do all these different things? How is he able to just have so much like influence over all these people? But I'm the one with the authority.
Hmm.
Like I earned this. I've been following, you know, God's laws and everything like that. Um, so how is it that he can just come in and really honestly take all the glory?
Yeah. It's just
But
like how Bishop Bronner was talking about not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before when he was talking about, you have people that are, you have like the story of the guy with the two sons,
hmm
the son that actually went and was like, give me my part of the
hmm
inheritance or whatever. And then you had the son in the house who was mad because the son that left, got another chance. You know what I mean? But it's like the son that was in the house had a religious spirit. Like, well, I've been here. Like, I can kind of understand where he was coming from. But you have those people who are so like caught up on performance and stuff like that it kind of overshadows and it starts to like take over what's really important. So yeah. Yeah.
all I can say is that my encounter with God was so strong enough. It's like I don't want to live without him. But then even then, it's like I do feel like sometimes we can forget about what God has done for us. Just because honestly it could be real quick.
Yeah.
If you look at
That's just our
um,
nature. We have
yeah,
the ability, we have a very good track record of forgetting what God has done for us.
hmm
And even like I was reading, so I just got out of the book of Jeremiah. Um,
you read all
no,
of it.
yeah, I read all of it now.
It took you a
So I
while.
read through Lamentations. Now
Okay.
I'm in the next whatever book that is. I can't remember which one come after Lamentations. But in the whole book of Jeremiah, that's pretty much where, like God was like tired of everybody. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna let Nebuchadnezzar come up in here. I'm gonna let all these different kings come and execute y'all because I'm tired. Like y'all done turned against me. Y'all serving other gods. Y'all are killing people. Y'all doing all this stuff. I'm just gonna take my hands off of y'all and just let y'all be, you know, I'm done with y'all right now. And, when I think about the topic of being without God or life without God, God is our protection. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, there's so much that's up against us every single day. Like, the enemy wants to destroy everything that God represents, and especially his people. And, if you are living a life without God, like, that is like, it's you very vulnerable because I mean, now granted, God does protect people who they don't even know that they're being protected. However, you know what I mean? Like once God takes his hands off of you, that's open meat for the enemy, you know what I mean, to come in and do whatever he wants with you.
And I think that's like that's the tricky part about that is because I guess like how you can see things like
Mm-hmm.
if God takes his hand off of you, then things are supposed to get progressively bad for you. But you may not perceive that things are getting progressively bad for you.
You may
Things,
not even never see it
yeah,
until
things could be getting better
yeah,
and better and better until
yeah,
just one day it's just all over.
yeah,
It could be, God took his hands off me. I hit the lottery. I'm spending all this money. I'm never
yeah,
transformed. Like my character's never transformed, so I'm spending it all.
yeah,
I'm buying this. I'm buying that. I'm getting into drugs. I'm doing whatever I want to do,
yeah. It's
and
like
that's
the
the
world
tricky
is my
part.
oyster, and
So
yeah.
it's almost like God takes his hand off of you, and Satan can really give you the world. Then
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to live like impoverished or anything like that. You don't
Right.
have to be without food. He can literally give you everything what you desire.
That's true. That is very true. So, community, do y'all have any comments? What y'all think? What's on y'all's mind? Do y'all have any specific things to say about life without God or living without God?
Don't get quiet on me now, Black Panther.
I know, right? He did say that. He said that in the comments. I'm like, who are you talking about? But yeah. So, what do you think the evidence of a life without God is? I guess we just said you can't really tell, but
hmm
you know.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. Well, I feel like, well, of course, God he knows everything. It's almost like he really wrote the story of like the whole world from end to beginning.
Hmm.
And so he wrote it in reverse. So of course, he knows everything. So I feel like he does know, who is going to choose him and honestly who's not, which
Yeah.
is weird. But I'm not God.
Yeah.
So, but the whole thing is God. He's so complex. He knows how to use everything. So
Yeah.
he knows how to use what's good and he knows how to use what's bad. Now, just as far as evidence of living life without God, sometimes it's kind of hard to say this because, again, God, he knows how to use everything.
Yeah.
He can use suicide. He can use your addictions. He can use what you've been blessed by. He can just use so many different things.
Can you imagine being like the head of like a Fortune 500 company, right? Or some like very, very, very lucrative and very like amazing business, right? And you've
Mm-hmm.
got everything. You've got mansion, you've got cars, you've got everything. Like you have no want for anything, and life is just amazing, but you don't have God in your life. Like, do you know, like that is a very, it's kind of scary when you think about it because in your eyes, you feel like I'm good. Like,
Where you're climbing the wrong ladder to success.
yeah,
That's
it's
pretty much
just
what it
very
is.
scary because then I can see how, somebody who's living that life could think that everything is okay. Black Panther says, I can see how someone could be led to believe that there is no God and you can have a life without him simply because the earth doesn't swallow idolatrous people up right away. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
thing. So this is actually First John 2:15 through
Mm-hmm.
17. I guess is to kind of answer your question about like evidence.
Yeah.
It says, "Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and pride in possessions, is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world
Yeah.
is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever." So I think the evidence would be is that you just loving the world.
Yeah.
You know, you know. So it's not,
What do
the,
you think about, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what
mm,
do you think about celebrities who they in one message they'll be talking about God, but you can clearly see that their hearts are set on the world, like such as Cardi B. Like I can't say that she does not believe in God, but at
mm,
the same time, it's like somebody had made a video and they were just like, you can't say like you love God, but you in the video you got like um you got this song called WAP or whatever, and in the same breath talking about thank you God for, this and that. What do you think about that? Or do you think that God is still working on people that are like that? Do you think that they just haven't really gotten it yet? Like they're trying, but they haven't really gotten there.
the compassionate side of me wants to say that.
Uh-huh.
That they're, God's still working on them because God does say, well, I forgot which verse it is, but it's every good and perfect gift comes from God.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking whatever God you want to about things that are not of God,
Yeah.
then it's idolatry.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I did this, but I've been quote unquote blessed with this. That's not a blessing, at least not from God.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you made money off of a lustful video does not mean
That God was in
that,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Um,
But at the same, this is where the tricky part comes in, just because you can be like, well, I guess with her, you could be gifted large amounts of money and everything like that, but
mhm.
then God can really come in you to try to do the right thing with what you've been given.
Yes.
So it's like that's why I said God is still working on things, but
Yeah.
He's really just the mastermind behind it all, too,
Yeah.
because He really can't use everything.
Yeah, and I
But
do feel like God is, I don't want to call him sneaky in that regard, but I do feel like God does sneak in there and be like,
hmm
and will snatch a person from the enemy and
hmm
be like, ha, she mine, boo. Like, you thought this was yours? Like, she mine, or he's mine. Like, I'm going to use him for the kingdom. And
hmm
I think that's an amazing thing because God does need people in the industry because there are people in the industry that need to be saved. You know what I
hmm
mean? And like, so you can't really judge people based off of where they are now because you
hmm
just never know what God is going to do with them.
Or then it's like so even then it's like so she could be thanking God about different things that's kind of occurred to her.
Mm-hmm.
It could be one thing. It could just be her own personal heart to where it's like she's thanking a God for something that does not represent God. But at the same time, the fact that she does do that, it may lead someone to actually want to know more about
About
God
God,
and
yeah,
His true nature.
right,
So
yeah. It
it's
could go either
interesting.
way,
Yeah,
yeah. But God works in mysterious ways. So yeah, I think
and He
that's
does work in
good.
mysterious ways. It's becoming more and more evident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, it just kind of leads me to believe. So I was watching this show, and I just love this moment so much. It's from Last Chance U, like the
Mm-hmm.
basketball version, and it was a point to where one of his players had missed 3 practices, and he went to go play in the games because, I mean, of course, why not? Practice really doesn't matter, I guess, to the people, but they still want to be able to perform in the game. And I think he had did something bad or something like that, and the coach had kind of put him on the bench, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Well, what did I do wrong? Like, tell me what I did wrong." But no answer was given to him. So he copped like a little attitude. He walked all the way down to the end of the bench because he didn't want to be nowhere near the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I think either after the game or like the next day, the coach went and talked to him about it. He was like, you're gonna have to like to trust me. It's not that you did anything wrong. It was just that you had missed 3 practices, and I know your conditioning was not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I wasn't taking you out of the game because you did something bad. I was taking you out of the game just because you weren't conditioned right. What you're telling me is that you don't trust me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm gonna need you to trust me and not question every decision that I make.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, and it's cool because the coach is a believer. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't cuss or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's so evident, I guess, especially like in my life, and I'm pretty sure in a lot of other people's lives too. Just because how many times we really question God about everything that kind of happens in our lives instead of
Right.
really just trusting Him.
And then sometimes it's almost like, I don't want to say like it's like a slap in the face, but I'm pretty sure people like God get tired of you asking him, like, Lord, why am I doing this?
I was
Why you
talking to
not
one of my
blessing
friends
me?
about that last night
Why
too.
you not giving me what I want? And it's like, listen, I'm the one that put you where you are, and
Mm.
I'm gonna take care of you. Did you not read my word when I said this, this, and this?
You know how
So yeah.
certain people call you and like, oh, I'm like talking to you right now.
Yeah.
You may either not pick up the phone or just
Mm-hmm.
send them straight to voicemail.
Yeah.
Like God be doing that sometimes.
Well, I'm not gonna say nothing on that, but but yeah. All right. Well, I guess before we get off of here, we'll just read some comments. Um, let's see. These are choices. Black Panther said these are choices, right? Just like the choice Judas had. Um, I guess he was talking about back when we were talking about, I guess, Cardi B and all them. But yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though. So I was listening to TD Jakes like a couple weeks ago, and he was looking over a non-canonical book of I guess it's the non-canonical book. I guess it's called like the Book of Judas,
Yeah.
and
The Apocrypha.
I
Is
guess
that the
so.
non-canonical? Does that mean the books that were taken out of the Bible?
Books are just not in part of the 66 books.
Yes.
So he said he wasn't, sure of its validity and everything like that. But I was
Right.
like, it makes sense of what the story he was saying. Did I say
Mm-hmm.
this?
No, but my dad, he reads the
Okay.
Apocrypha, Lord, the Apocrypha,
Hmm.
which, he believes that these are the books that were taken out of the Bible.
So apparently, when Satan, I guess, had entered Judas, it wasn't too much um, that Judas was really trying to betray Jesus, but he was really just trying to I guess force his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was going to be arrested by like the Roman officers, then he would have to display his power. So then it's like he would kind of, I guess, be forced to be I guess, the Messiah that everyone wanted, but
Yeah.
not what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
He was
it's
testing
thought
God,
provoking.
pretty much.
It's thought provoking, and it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, I'm going with the 66, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
still, that's very interesting, I guess, perspective to kind of think about it.
Yeah.
Especially somebody who's, quote unquote, loved Jesus and was one of his disciples.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, even more so was when he was arrested and Jesus really didn't do anything, I guess, past that. And he was really, I guess Judas was kind of like I guess you want to say like heartbroken over it. That's why he decided, to kill himself, just because he, I guess, had a hand in betraying Jesus,
Yeah.
like that. That was interesting.
Yeah. Well, one of these days I'll pick it up and I'll read the Apocrypha.
Hmm.
I just, I kind of feel some type of way because it's like I'm not really sure if I can trust those words.
Yeah.
But, just because it's my dad and he's like really
Hmm.
serious about this thing, like I'll check it out just to say that, I read it and see what happens from there.
Yeah, I
Um,
say, well, once I do get to heaven, I can't wait to have story time with Jesus so he can
yeah, there'll be plenty of
tell me
that.
the whole thing.
Right. I'm pretty sure we'll all be sitting there listening.
I said, tell it to me again just because it's so good.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, I think this is the end of our podcast. We are well over. We are at an hour and 16 minutes, but we thank you so much for listening to our podcast, for watching. Thank you guys for just being a part of it.
Thank y'all
Um,
for joining in.
yeah,
Those who are live right now and who's going back to listen later, we thank you so much.
yeah. And yeah, thank you for listening to The Collective.